It is 94 WIP. Great to be with you off and rolling on this Wednesday morning. Well, Brandon Graham, he retired, and today we pay tribute to one of our favorite players and one of our favorite people ever, and I mean ever, in the history of Philadelphia sports. Certainly an opportunity for you to pay tribute to BJ, one of the greats, and obviously one of the most impactful. So get dialing today at 215-592-9494. We'll play a lot of audio from what he said yesterday in the press conference. It lasted about a half hour, so we got a lot to play for you today. But really want to hear from you as you pay tribute to Brandon Graham. Also, at the Phil's now 8 days away, we'll start cranking up coverage more and more and more. And certainly put under the microscope today one of the most, I think, the most important Philly, and that's Trey Turner, because he could be really, really good or not. And so we'll kind of examine the Trey Turner thing here, his first 2 years to Philadelphia, and what we project moving forward. Look, all of this with you on the phone lines, 215-592-9494. Richie Rich.
Hello there, Joe.
Hello there, Johnny.
1883, Krakatoa volcano, the eruption that occurred.
Don't know that one.
Indonesia.
Okay.
This is
we act
far,
like we should
far
know
away.
It. You're like, that one that occurred. Like, okay.
Well,
it
was a massive volcanic eruption.
Yeah.
Krakatoa, 1883. Anyway, it produced such a loud sound that it ruptured people's eardrums 40 miles away.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Whoa!
That's incredible. That is incredible.
That is incredible.
Have you had ruptured eardrums before, Joe?
No, but I have heard one sound one time that was so shocking. It was so shocking, I had to say something to the guy in the other stall, and I didn't know who was in the other stall.
Oh, my God. No way.
It was nuclear.
Uh-huh.
And it was so unbelievable. After about 10 seconds, I think I said something like,
"Are you okay?" Kind of thing?
No, I said, that was incredible. and it was my boss.
And
No!
Yeah.
And what was
Not the
his
boss
response?
here.
He started giggling. I started giggling.
What was his response? Did he say anything?
He just giggled. I mean, then we started talking. But it was, I'm just telling you, I've never heard anything. And I've heard a lot. I never heard anything like that. So my point is, this volcano erupting, some things can just defy,
Yeah, that's loud if it breaks your ear.
All right, so good morning to you, 215-592-9494. We'll get to the Trey Turner thing shortly, because he really is a very important Phil this year. And not just this year, but for a long time to come. So I really want to find out from you, how good do you think he is? How good's Trey Turner? I want you to start thinking about that. Get dialing at 215-592-9494. And also answer the question, do you believe in him? Do you believe in Trey Turner? How good is he? Okay, all of that today, 215-592-9494. John, let's start with BJ. What a guy, what a player. Look, we love him. He is really an incredibly consequential figure in the history of Philadelphia sports. I mean, you think about it, the list of 2 titles in town is really short. You got some guys from the 48 and 49 Eagles. You actually have Ben Nerrick, who was on 49 and 60. You've obviously got the Flyers groups, from 74 and 75. And then you got the 4 dudes that won 2, over the last 8 years in Philadelphia.
And how many others of them have the biggest play in the history of their franchise in addition to that?
I get it, man. So, and then, John, what a guy. I mean, we've gotten to know him on a personal level. James knew him 10 years ago when James worked for the Eagles, and even in some of BG's down years, James would talk about what an upbeat guy he was, what a positive guy he was. John, this guy, you want to talk about, I'll give you a Doc Rivers. This guy was a treasure, and still is, by the way. It's great he's still going to be around here. John, your thoughts on Brandon Graham?
Yeah, it's really easy to say that you love Brandon Graham. It is easy as breathing. Brandon Graham has put himself out there in such a way. I mean, he has told us he's loved us so many times. It's almost like we're just saying it back.
Gives us a hug. Every time he sees us, gives us a hug.
Exactly.
Every time.
It's Brandon Graham, man, the adversity that spawned Brandon Graham.
Yep.
It is piled to the ceiling. And yet somehow I've never seen a frown on the guy's face. I've never seen him not upbeat, except if he's crying tears of joy. That it's always so out there on his sleeve. It just feels like I wish, and you know what? And I think this has happened. It's like the greatest compliment is when people imitate your approach. I think that I want to be like him. I think that we as a city can take something from Brandon Graham. We did not invite him in, yet he just kept working.
He did.
And eventually won us our first world championship.
No question.
Without complaint, because he just kept working, and he wasn't even playing his position when he won us that Super Bowl. I'm not. Again, I don't want to. I don't want to over exaggerate.
No,
this.
but he was a big part of it.
He was such a
play.
massive part that play. It's historical. We all know that he's playing D tackle. Brandon Graham, the guy that people did not want. What a mistake!
Yeah.
What a mistake! Draft bust, this and that. Playing out of position wins us our first world championship, and then the grace that he speaks with, the grace that he deals with everyone with. In and out of football, on the street. He is the same guy all the time, and that consistency is what makes us appreciate him so much more.
Yeah.
He's one of the best people I've ever been around, and I don't know him that well, but I feel like I do because he lets us in.
Yeah, he does. Look, it's a massive career in the history of Philadelphia sports. It really is. And we want to hear from you today at 215-592-9494. It's a day to pay tribute to BG, and he deserves it, guys. I mean, he deserves it. Look, obviously it all started with his name being said by the commissioner instead of Earl Thomas's name. That's literally where it started. It started in 2010. I don't know if that was a Saturday or a Friday or a Thursday night. I don't even remember what the circumstances were the first round back then. But here's what I do know. With the blank pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select, and then we heard Brandon Graham, and everybody was disappointed. And then for the first 5 years or so, now for the first 3 years he really struggled, but for the first 5 years or so, Earl Thomas played at a level that was so unbelievable. It's like, I can't believe they passed on the next Brian Dawkins, because Earl Thomas was, for about 5 or 6 years, really legit. I mean, he was really, really legit. By the way,
and winning world titles.
I know, and getting it too. Final tally of championships, Earl Thomas 1, Brandon Graham 2. See what I said there? So, look,
and that was so cool to see visually yesterday.
It was great. It was great.
Him walking around with both of them.
Yeah,
it's like walking everywhere. It's cool.
And, Nick Sirianni, obviously, when he came into town 4 years ago, and he also was very doubted. That's a whole nother thing. And by the way, Trey Turner's very doubted right now. We'll get to that shortly. Some guys crawl out of it. Some guys don't. And by the way, Trey at his best is certainly better than Brandon at his worst. I mean, Brandon really did struggle early. But here's my point about bringing up Sirianni's name. When Sirianni came into town in 2021, we heard 5 trillion times about this thing, dog mentality. 5 trillion.
Yeah.
What is it? It's all it is overcoming adversity. All it is stick-to-itiveness. Sticking to it, whether the last play was bad, whether the last year was bad, whether someone's just stick to it and keep doing your freaking job and do it to the best of your ability. Try to block out the nonsense. I guess we're part of the nonsense. Look, we all have an opinion. Okay, but I'm saying nonsense from the standpoint we understand all this chatter sometimes. It can be tough on guys. BG talked about it. He talked about that yesterday in his press conference. It was tough on him. But Brandon Graham, maybe more than any athlete I've ever seen in Philadelphia sports, he lived dog mentality, and he lived it a decade before Sirianni even got here. So I admire the hell out of the guy. I love him. I do. I love him. Like when he gives me a hug when he walks in, I'm so happy to hug him back because I feel that. I want to express that to him. So I want you today, I'm asking you today at 215-592-9494 to bring the love for Brandon Graham, to pay tribute to him. Tell the Delaware Valley why you love him. Talk about your favorite memories and moments. Obviously, Super Bowl 52 is got to be number one. I got to tell you what's close, though. Him there, not just yesterday, but at parade number 2 with 2 trophies. That was a boss move.
It really was.
A month ago.
Give me that second one.
Because no one else, they hadn't done that. That was the first time I visually saw 2 trophies, and it's this is the guy that deserves it. Him and Lane, it's the 2 guys, other than the specialist, no offense meant to Jake Elliott and the long snapper. But, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, come on. There's a lot there. So his impact is massive. I think he had a part in changing the sports culture. James, your thoughts on Brandon Graham?
Yeah, he's my favorite Eagle ever and has been long before the Super Bowl play. So to your point, I work for the Eagles. I've told how I used to go around the locker room and ask dumb questions like, what's your most prized possession? Who's your favorite player growing up? Whatever. Some players were nice to me, some weren't. Brandon Graham answered everything I asked. Every time was awesome. Would try and get other players to help me out, but that's not the best part. When I stopped working for the Eagles and I'm at a radio station, Brandon Graham came in to do a show. He goes in to do the show in the other studio I'm producing. He comes into my producer. He looks at me. He comes into my he's like, man, I'm so happy to see you living your dream here. This is so cool. Like, keep doing what you're... Like, I didn't even think he would remember what I look like, much less know what I wanted to do, know why I had left the Eagles, the whole thing. Gave me this big hug, and it meant everything to me at that time. I was early in this business. It meant everything to me. He's been my favorite player ever since that moment. And I also think for all of us, we are just lucky to have like the all-time leader in games played, the Mr. Eagle, two-time champion, all this stuff. We're so lucky it's that guy. Yeah. We're so lucky to have that guy be like the face of this Eagles thing. I'm so grateful I got to be here for the whole Brandon Graham.
I love it. He did it for long enough. Brandon Graham did it for long enough that he recognized the impact that he made on people. You know, like I think a lot of guys, they don't realize it, and then when they're done, they're like, oh man, you know what? I should have done better. I could have done more with that platform. Sure. I think Brandon has done an awesome job of recognizing, like you're saying, Jimmy, if he takes an interest in someone, and that's just human, like, and he's great at that. He knows the way it profoundly impacts someone when he asks them a question about their life, and that means so much, you know, to me, but to all of us. It's just another example of we should be proud of our organization for recognizing guys like Brandon. Yeah. Deserve to be kept around. Think about the fact that Brandon Graham was an Eagle his entire career.
No, I agree, but he kept contributing, unlike Jason Peters, and I mean this is no offense to Peters, but I mean he kept showing up. He kept playing every game until the serious injury. He came back, by the way, for the Super Bowl. He contributed in this. He wasn't like in and out. He played, man. He freaking played, and he played well. I think some of his very best years were some of the latter years of his career. Look, your phone calls and tributes to Brandon Graham today, 215-592-9494.